April 1917. Over the skies of northern France, spring brought no renewal. It brought the stench of burning oil, torn fabric, and the wreckage of aircraft falling in numbers no one could count. While British infantry prepared for the era's offensive on the ground below, a quiet catastrophe was unfolding above a single month that aviation history would later remember by a cold, merciless name: Bloody April. The Royal Flying Corps, still bearing that name at the time, did not fly in search of glory. They flew because they were ordered to. Their mission was reconnaissance slow, straight, and low-altitude flights to photograph German positions and correct artillery fire. Those photographs decided where the shells would fall, and where the shells fell decided who would live and who would die in the trenches. The problem was simple and unforgiving. British aircraft were not built for combat. They were slow, fragile, and nearly defenseless. Their pilots were young men with only a few dozen hours of flight training. Before takeoff, they understood one truth clearly: if they were detected, escape was unlikely. Across the sky existed a completely different world. The German Air Service had reorganized into professional fighter squadrons, JASTAs. They flew Albatros D3 fighters, faster, stronger, and commanded by pilots who had turned aerial combat into a form of disciplined hunting. From above, they held every advantage: altitude, the sun at their backs, and experience. Each morning in April, British pilots climbed into their aircraft with the feeling of stepping onto a gallows. They were not allowed to deviate from their routes. They were not allowed to withdraw until their missions were complete. The same flight paths were repeated day after day, at the same altitudes, and from the same directions until the Germans simply waited for them. When British reconnaissance aircraft appeared, German aces dove from above like birds of prey. There were no chivalrous duels, no heroic exchanges, only seconds of machine gun fire. A few bursts ripping through wooden frames and fabric wings, and then an aircraft losing control, igniting and plunging toward the earth. Some British pilots were shot down on their very first operational flight. Some crews never fired a single round in defense. Others were destroyed so quickly they had no time to react at all. There were aircraft that crashed directly in front of their own trenches, their wreckage burning in the mud as infantrymen watched helplessly from below. Some British pilots were shot down on their very first flight. Some crews never fired a single round. Some aircraft fell directly in front of their own trenches, leaving burning wreckage smoldering in the muddy fields below. Throughout April 1917, the Royal Flying Corps lost nearly 245 aircraft. More than 400 airmen were killed, wounded, or went missing in just 30 days. On certain days, for every 5 British aircraft destroyed, the Germans lost only 1. This was no longer an equal fight. It was a systematic destruction. On the ground, British artillery fire became more accurate than ever. Infantry advanced. Objectives were taken. Official reports recorded success. But in the sky, the price was paid by men whose names would rarely be remembered. Yet on the ground, the offensive appeared to succeed. British artillery fire grew more accurate than ever before. Infantry advanced. Objectives were taken. Reports filed at headquarters recorded progress and gains. Maps were marked with success. But the cost of that precision was paid almost entirely in the air by men whose names rarely appeared in official communiques. For the German aces, Bloody April became the most productive period of their careers. Manfred von Richthofen, the Red Baron himself, scored heavily during this month. Yet even among the victors, the experience left a mark. Years later, German pilots would admit that Bloody April did not feel like triumph. It felt like a season of hunting one in which the prey had no means of escape. The most painful truth lay at the heart of it all. British pilots understood they were being sacrificed. They knew that without reconnaissance, artillery would fire blindly. And if artillery fired blindly, thousands of infantrymen would die in futile assaults. So they continued to fly not out of recklessness or aggression, but out of duty. They flew knowing the odds. They flew knowing the cost. Bloody April forced a reckoning. In its aftermath, British air doctrine changed. Fighter escorts were introduced. Aircraft designs improved. Training programs were extended. Lessons were learned, lessons written in smoke and fire across the sky. but for the hundreds who fell in April 1917, those changes came too late. History often remembers the aces, the kill tallies, the symbols painted on aircraft fuselages. But Bloody April is not a story of legends. It is a story of missions that never returned, of empty seats in briefing rooms, of young men who climbed into the sky knowing their chances of survival were slim yet went anyway, so that those below might live one more day. On the map, Arras is marked as a victory in the skies of April 1917. It was a graveyard without headstones.
We're going down. Mayday, mayday.
You should try the stew. It's surprisingly good.
Mr. Havner sacked and atmospheres in the storm now beside her.